Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Failing is Not an Option. I am currently working on a new way so that I can get the video back because Microsoft, I don't know what they're doing. They're refusing to fix whatever it is that's going on with the camera and this new update that I received for the MacBook. But we are still going to take a dive into the DSM-5, and we are going to talk about how the DSM questions is ultimately a numbers game. And today I found just a few questions, took them from ChatGPT just to highlight and show you that if you don't know which numbers match with which DSM-5 diagnosis, you are going to miss the question. You miss the time frame, you miss the question. That is the biggest thing that I want us to start thinking about. I want each and every one of us to know the ages that come with these DSM-5 diagnoses, the length of time, the number of symptoms that comes with the certain DSM-5 diagnosis. Once you are able to understand that, when you see those numbers on that screen, when you see those numbers, you are going to be able to get rid of what does not belong. Let's take a dive into this first question, and we are going to do some breadcrumbs for these questions today. So as always, feel free to pause this video and find the answer before I reveal what the best answer is. So in this one, we have a 34-year-old woman. She's feeling on edge most days for 5 months. She reports muscle tension, irritability, difficulty concentrating, sleep disturbances. She denies panic attacks and substance use. Symptoms cause clinically significant distress. So what would be the most appropriate diagnosis? So typically, when I look at like a DSM-5 question, I'm making sure that I'm matching the symptoms to that time frame that you see, that 5 months. And then you have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 symptoms there: muscle tension, irritability, difficulty concentrating, and sleep disturbance. So we have that, but then there are no panic attacks. So that is also something to think about. So we got 5 months, and we got some symptoms that are presented. So let's take a look at the breadcrumbs and how I found out which one was the best answer. Now, I highlighted 34-year-old. I did the age just in case you want to, put that into practice. An age is very important. Okay, it's very important. But we have her feeling on edge, but we see 5 months for muscle tension, irritability, difficulty concentrating, and sleep disturbances. And she denies panic attacks. Now, I have the denies panic attacks in red because I want you to see that answer, that answer response down there for panic disorder can automatically be ruled out. So just get rid of it and don't go back to it. If you take a look at the question, it is asking you for the appropriate one. Which is the appropriate one given the information that you have, which is 5 months of muscle tension, irritability, difficulty concentrating, and sleep disturbances, right? You can get rid of A. There is no identified stressor that has been mentioned, so get rid of it. If you take a look at B, it says generalized anxiety disorder. And I have that in yellow because right about now, we're probably all on the same page that, okay, this is anxiety that this person is having. But it's not going to be the best answer because you need the number 6 up there in order for this to be generalized anxiety disorder. It's going to be unspecified anxiety disorder. You do not have quite enough information just yet to say it is generalized anxiety disorder. But we know that it's an anxiety disorder, but we're missing something, right? We're missing something. So it's going to be unspecified. Unless you see that number 6 there, do not choose generalized anxiety disorder. Okay, so let's take a look at this one. A 16-year-old adolescent presents with depressed mood, fatigue, feelings of worthlessness, poor concentration, and recurring thoughts about death lasting 10 days. There is no history of mania or substance use. Which one of these is going to be the best diagnosis? So if we're going to look at this question again, and I'm trying to get everyone into the mode of when you read these questions, I want you to read it back to yourself and understand what it's exactly asking you. You have a 16-year-old that has had a depressed mood, fatigue, feeling of worthlessness, poor concentration, and reoccurring thoughts about death that has lasted her for 16 days. But there is no history of mania, and there is nothing regarding substance use. So feel free to pause the video, see if you can find the answer before I reveal what the best one is. But let's take a look at these breadcrumbs, right? Because see, now when we look at these symptoms, we know that it's depression, correct? We know exactly what it is. But we got a number there. We have a number 10, and that's not long enough. It's not long enough. So if you were looking at A, it's going to be incorrect. You need 2 weeks is for it. Now, if it would have said 14 days, okay, now we on to something. But it only says 10 days. You're off 4 days. You're missing 4 days. Persistent depression, you don't see any number 2 that's there. You don't see anything that's maybe like 18, 19, 20 months that would have you even thinking about that. So you're going to get rid of B for persistent depressive disorder. There's no identifiable stressor. So you're going to get rid of C. But what you can say is unspecified depressive disorder because we're missing some information, right? We're missing some of the main symptoms of MDD, right? So we got 10 days, we have feeling of worthlessness, but where is the part where it says, loss of interest in things, which is a major one of the 2 symptoms that you need. And we're missing that. And we're also missing the length of time. So again, it is a numbers game. Start looking at those numbers, treat them like the numbers that they are, and start matching them to where they belong. Let's take a look at this one. A 42-year-old man reports auditory hallucinations, disorganized speech for the past 5 weeks. He also describes social withdrawal and poor functioning for 8 months total. No substance abuse or mood episodes are reported. So what is the most likely diagnosis going to be? Now, let's look at this again. We're going to work our way through it again. We've got some hallucinations. We've got some disorganized speech. And it's been going on for 5 months now. But the social withdrawal and the poor functioning we're totaling 8 months here, right? And there's no substance use or mood episodes that are reported. With the numbers that we have, 5 weeks, 8 months, there are a lot of diagnoses that we can just go ahead out the back and just get rid of them. And now I highlighted brief psychotic disorder because I know we're seeing the 5 weeks. Okay, I get it. You got 5 weeks up there, but you also got 8 months. You can't ignore it, right? So get rid of brief psychotic disorder. Too long, right? Schizophrenia form, too long. We got 8 months, 1 to 6. Delusional disorder, there is nothing mentioned of delusional disorder. Whenever you see auditory hallucinations, delusional disorder is automatically going to be taken out because delusional disorder is only coming with delusions. Automatically get rid of it. Your best answer is going to be C. It is going to be schizophrenia. We have, for the past 5 weeks, we've had auditory hallucination, disorganized speech, but it's been going on for 8 months, 6 months or more, with 1 month of active symptoms, which is what you see up there for the 5 weeks, making this answer C, schizophrenia. A 22-year-old college student reports period of elevated mood, increased energy, decreased need for sleep, and distractibility lasting for 3 days, followed by weeks of depressed mood lasting 2 weeks. No impairment or hospitalization is reported. Okay, I love this question. And actually, ChatGPT did a very good job with this question because I love it. When we take a look at this, we got bipolar all in there. And I know everybody are just like, it's bipolar. It's bipolar 1 or it's bipolar 2. But if you look twice, maybe give it a look 3 times. We got 3 days and we also got 2 weeks that are listed there. 3 days does not match either bipolar 1 or bipolar 2. Now, I put it in yellow because I wanted you to see it. Elevated mood, decreased energy, decreased need for sleep, and distractibility. That is your bipolar symptoms. Am I right? But look at the 3 days that comes with it. Bipolar 1 mania episodes last how long? 1 week. That's 7 days. Bipolar 2 disorder hypomania lasts how long? 4 days. All we got is the number 3 that is there. But you do see a weeks of depressed mood lasting for 2 weeks, which we could want to say, oh, well, maybe it's possibly bipolar 2. It can't be bipolar 2 because the hypomania phase lasts 4 days and not 3 days, making this answer major depressive disorder. You are going to see questions like this that are going to send you for a loop. Stay the course. Do not stray the course. It is meant to do what? It is definitely meant to distract you. But this question is like one of the best ones I've seen that's easy to try to throw you. Okay? But yes, this answer is major depressive disorder. A 10-year-old child has frequent temper outbursts occurring 3 to 4 times per week. For the past 8 months, outbursts occur at home and school. Between outbursts, the child is persistently irritable most of the day, nearly every day, and there is no history of physical aggression toward people or animals. So let's take a look at this question again. Pause this and see if you can find this best answer before I reveal it. We have a 10-year-old. Outbursts 3-4 times a week, 8 months. Irritable most of the day, every day. No history of physical aggression towards people or animals. So let's climb on over and let's look at some of these breadcrumbs and see. We take a look at it. 10 outbursts, 3-4 times a week, 8 months, occurs at home and school. So now we got across 2 different environments, persistently irritable most of the day. And I went ahead and I put that in red. No history of physical aggression towards people or animal is going to help you get rid of all the others. And actually, even with this question, know your numbers, yes, but that no history of physical aggression towards people or animals gets rid of A, because what happens with conduct disorder? Cruelty to animals, so get rid of that. Intermittent explosive disorder comes with physical aggression, so get rid of that. Oppositional defiant disorder. This question is too intense for it to be ODD. For disruptive mood disorder, you're going to have, look, there it is, DH 10 years old. You got 10 right there. That's going to match that DMDD. You got 3-4 times a week. That matches DMDD. You got 8 months. DMDD is actually a year. But you got other symptoms that are going to tell you this is DMDD. There is no other answer that's going to be like, oh, unspecified or other unspecified or something like that. This is going to be your best answer, which is B, because the rest of the other 3 holds no weight with the rest of the information presented in the vignette. Yes, DMDD before the age of 10, 3-4 times a week across 2 environments, 1 year, but you only get 8 months, and that's okay because the rest of those other answers does not hold any weight with the best answer. Stay the course. Do not stray the course. It is meant to distract you. 13-year-old presents with severe temper outbursts, chronic irritability, verbal aggression, occasional physical aggression towards peers. Symptoms have been present for 1 year, and he previously met criteria for oppositional defiant disorder at the age of 8. Now, I like this question too. This one also gets you like thinking. So when we go back and we look again, 13-year-old, chronic irritability, verbal aggression, physical aggression, 1 year. Met the criteria for oppositional defiant disorder at the age of 8. So if you're thinking what I think you are thinking, you're going to be wrong, because I'm going to show you why this answer is the answer that it is. So when we take a look at this question, oppositional defiant disorder is automatically going to be out. It's too intense, too much verbal aggression and physical aggression. We're going to get rid of it. B, conduct disorder, it's way too intense because it comes with chronic irritability. Conduct disorder does not come with chronic irritability. I know that this does sound more like intermittent explosive disorder because we see the physical aggression towards peers, and sometimes you do not see that when it comes with DMDD, but I'm going to tell you that this answer is DMDD because intermittent explosive disorder does not come with chronic irritability, making IED automatically ruled out. This is what I mean when I say know your symptoms. Know which symptoms comes with which disorder, so you know which symptom matches which disorder. This was a very good question. I really love this question. But yes, DMDD comes with chronic irritability. IED does not. Now, let's chat. When it comes to the DSM-5 questions, I didn't do all of the DSM-5 diagnoses. And as much as I want to, I'll do another video like this in the upcoming weeks. But each of these questions that I just walked you through, it's like a mental shift that you have with yourself. Because you need to know the ages that match the disorder. I want you to definitely know the length of time, because once you start seeing those length of times, it's going to be making much more sense to you. Once you know the length of time and which matches what, which is too long, which is not long enough, you'll be able to do that. It is very important that you know your symptoms of these disorders. Which symptoms go with which disorder? If you know which symptoms goes with which disorder, you're going to be able to rule out answers much quicker, because you're going to be like, well, that's not a part, that doesn't come with this disorder, that goes with this disorder. You're going to be able to, do the process of elimination much faster once you know that. Which symptoms are being strongly presented? The way that you're going to be able to find that out is you need to know the length of time that is going to come with it, the different symptoms that come with it, making sure that the symptoms that are included goes with that disorder. So you need to know which one is going to be strongly presented. And the way that you know that is for you to have clarity and understanding over the ages, length of time, different symptoms that come with it, so that you can match each and every one of those symptoms, length of time and the age, to the correct disorder. I hope this makes sense to everyone. Keep in mind, I want everyone to, when you're taking those mock exams, when you're taking the real exam, when you see any DSM-5 question, it is a numbers game. Play those numbers like you play in the lottery, honey, and put it in order. Make it make sense to you. Stay the course. Do not stray the course. Same thing that you saw me doing these questions right here. Do that for every single one of your questions, and rest assured, you will come up with the best answer every single time. Alrighty, everyone, this ends this video for today. If anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns, please let me know. I'm always looking for, to make things understandable, to, give clarity to where you do not have it. Again, don't ever hesitate to reach out to me. I'll talk to you all soon.